nonstop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
You held them to 20 points, man. You gave us a chance at the end. But I got 3 words for you. You like that?
Yep, let's fire it up here. We are home stretch leading into Vikings training camp in 3 weeks. What's the official report date? 23rd?
I think it's the last Saturday
right?
of
the rookies.
Yeah, I think it's the
Well,
last
the rookies show up
Saturday
first,
of
that's
July.
right.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Okay.
And then, but I think they're on the field for the first time for their first practice on the last Saturday of July.
Okay. So this is, we're home stretching it here. It's amazing how fast the offseason can fly sometimes when you're,
Having
in
fun.
this daily Vikings entertainment business like we are at Purple Daily, which is presented by our friends at Surly Brewing Company and TCL. Redefine creativity with the TCL 30V 5G smartphone. Enjoy blazing fast 5G speed, an AI-powered 50-megapixel triple camera system, ultra-realistic and true-to-life visuals powered by NextVision, and booming sound from dual speakers. Learn more at TCL.com. Also, boys, before we get into an interesting thing from a sports book here, Vikings related, a shout out to, apologies if I am butchering the pronunciation of your name, sir, but Danish Hogfelt from Austin, Minnesota is the winner of our Purple Daily Getaway to Miami,
Awesome.
where we're giving you 2 Lower Bowl tickets, Week 6, to see the Purple play Miami in South Beach. Not on South Beach. The stadium's a little bit further away than that, but, you can explore the whole area. We pick up the travel,
It's all you.
pick up the tickets. So Danish Hogfelt, someone from our staff, will reach out to you here this week and get you situated. So congratulations. All we do is give you.
Nice work. It's awesome.
We give
Purple
tapes.
against the fish, right?
Yes, that is correct. The fins.
So like we could say the
you could
fish. I
Can we
love
say
how
the
you
fins?
could.
I don't know if we can say the
I
fins.
don't know if you could say the fins.
I don't know.
The fish for sure, though. Very generic.
The fish. The purple of the fish. That's right. Can say Miami. We can say
Do you actually
Minnesota.
think that's okay?
What Ace Ventura was looking for in the first Ace Ventura film.
Yes, that is the, exactly.
That one. It's a great movie. Great franchise, by the way. Don't want to go down a path.
Is it though?
I was going to say.
Actually, I like the second one more than the
I'm
first
going to let
one.
that one marinate.
All right.
I don't know if I'd call it great.
Come at me in the YouTube comments section. It's fine.
So thanks to everyone who entered, and for those of you who've also been using the Score North app, it's very helpful to us, and hopefully it's a one-stop shop for all of you. Okay. This is going to be kind of just an all-encompassing episode under the, what are people saying about the Vikings? But let's start with this one. Bet365, which is an online odds and gambling platform, they have put out their 2022 NFL Coach of the Year odds. I find this list to be very interesting. The odds-on favorites, and there really is no heavy favorite. Plus 1,400 is so 14-1. There's 2 of them tied. Brandon Staley and Brian Dable, new coach of the New York Giants. I think in both of those cases, Dable, you could see maybe a huge jump or something from, what did the Giants win? 6 games or something? Could you see them going from 6 games to 9 or
big
10
market.
and
Yep.
make the playoffs or something?
Not with that
And the
quarterback,
market. No, just, but that's
Yep.
the logic, right? They can make
I
a
got you.
jump. It's New York.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Brandon
I
Staley.
jumped in unnecessarily.
Brandon Staley could make a jump into the playoffs with Justin Herbert. And then we come to the next tier, which is 5 coaches tied at 16-1. Nathaniel Hackett, new coach in Denver.
Yep.
Kyle Shanahan, 49ers. Mike McDaniel with the Fish down in Miami. Doug Peterson. I mean, there's only one way to go in Jacksonville, and it's up.
That's a plausible one, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor
And then-
finds it. Yeah.
Kevin O'Connell is tied for the 3rd best odds to win NFL Coach of the Year. Right there with Doug Peterson, Nathaniel Hackett, Kyle Shanahan. And ahead of Josh McDaniels, Nick Sirianni, Frank Reich, and Kevin Stefanski.
Oh, yeah. Poor Stefanski.
Yeah.
That's a mess.
What do you make of Kevin O'Connell being among the favorites to win NFL Coach of the Year this year?
I like Kevin O'Connell's opportunity or chance to win Coach of the Year far more than Brian Dable's, okay? Brian Daboll is going to be Daniel Jones's coach. And last time I checked, I don't think that's a salvageable one. I really don't. I don't think that we're going to see.
But if he does, he wins, right? I mean,
well, sure, but I mean, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think that Jones is going to continue to be himself, which is not a great QB and a guy who was obviously drafted too early in that draft by the previous administration. I think O'Connell has a real chance because if you think about this, all right, the Vikings are banking on the fact that they were so poorly coached that they could keep the team together, bring in a new coach, new GM, new staff, and maximize what they feel was talent that was not maximized last year. If you look at this offensively, O'Connell's going to come in and is an offensive coach. The whole thing is he's going to take Cousins and get Kirk to a place that Kirk has probably previously never been before. And so the question becomes, like, let's say the Packers, just for the sake of the conversation, let's say they do drop off. They're not great. They're okay. The Vikings actually come up and score points, and O'Connell and his staff maximize the offensive output, and the Vikings win the division. O'Connell's got a great chance. I think if what the Vikings think is correct, I think O'Connell is walking into a situation that has a great chance because if he can maximize Kirk, Phil, like the skill guys around Kirk are awesome. They're great. So I think that O'Connell, I could see his odds actually being even better to be coach of the year than 16-1.
Wow.
Couldn't you? Like, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I could definitely see a path for it.
My first thought was, I almost feel like he's not the favorite in the division to win Coach of the Year because don't the Lions and Dan Campbell have a lot more room to impress people? All right, they went 3-13 last year. What if the Lions flirt with? I think to win Coach of the Year, you probably have to make the playoffs, though. Isn't that?
And you've got
fairly
Jared
standard
Goff. I mean, Kirk is not my favorite quarterback, but clearly 10 out of 10 times I'm going to take Kirk. Like, as long as Goff is the starter in Detroit, I don't know that I can be sold that Campbell's going to maximize that team offensively.
The thing is, if Kevin O'Connell does the things that you just mentioned, which is, okay, you maximize the offense, you get back to the playoffs, you win the division for the first time in a little while, wouldn't he just be doing, not to take credit away from him, but he would be doing what everyone has sort of expected this team to do since the day they signed Kirk, right?
But
you would just be getting, but you wouldn't be going above and beyond and carrying a 50-year dormant franchise back to relevance if Dan Campbell gets the Lions to 9 wins or something.
I hear you.
And Jared Goff. I guess my point is, you've got the tools. You should be above 500 if you're the Vikings. You should be at minimum a 9-win team aspiring to win the division 11 or 12 games. And we have set the bar lower here in part because of the failures of the Mike Zimmer-Kirk Cousins partnership. So I guess I'm kind of reframing my own question. What would Kevin O'Connell have to do to sort of surpass what the expectation should be to get to 12 or 13 wins, which I think would be I almost think you have to get to 12 or 13 wins to win Coach of the Year if you're Kevin O'Connell. Because guess what? Doug Peterson goes from 3 wins to 9. He's the Coach of the Year in Jacksonville. So that's kind of where I'm at is what needs to happen for him to get to 12 or 13 wins. That will be a stamp in his first year. What do you think, Declan?
And it's a regular season award, so playoffs have no impact whether they go one and done, whether you won a Super Bowl. It doesn't really matter what you do in the playoffs. But, I mean, Vegas typically knows things a little bit more. And also what's so intriguing, because I'm looking at the same list Phil is looking at here, I mean, Sean McVay is plus 2,500. John Harbaugh plus 2,500. Bill Belichick plus 2,200. So, like, Andy Reid is plus 3,000? 3,300.
Yeah.
So there's like some legitimate, all those coaches I listed, you would probably rank 5 NFL best coaches in the NFL right now. I could probably make a case most of those names are in the top 5. But Vegas is thinking that the Vikings can overachieve also from what this is happening here. So I think actually this is pretty intriguing because they're honestly banking on the fact guys like Kevin O'Connell, Mike McDaniel, Nathaniel Hackett, obviously Brandon Staley in that AFC West is just so stacked that whoever wins that division probably could also be the Coach of the Year. That there is some overachieving that can happen from the Vikings perspective, which is probably winning the North, probably being more like a 12 to 13 win team, which I would assume would make Kevin O'Connell probably a finalist, if not the NFL Coach of the Year.
And I don't think that the coaches who are established or ordinarily in any sport win this. It's not fair, but this almost seems
it's
to
very
be
flawed.
an award that is granted by improvement, right? So like Reed, it's just like, hey, you've got Mahomes. Of course you're going to be good.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And so he can do a fantastic coaching job.
Yeah.
And the people that vote are like, well, yeah, but of course they were good. So that's, to Phil's word, that's really flawed. But O'Connell, I think, would get a lot of points for maximizing an offense that had the tools and didn't get maximized previously.
Yep.
I think that's where he would be granted oh my God, he found the keys and unlocked Cousins and an offense that was far too often in 2022 too stagnant, or 2021.
You've hit on an interesting point, too, which is, so Bill Belichick, who is pretty universally regarded as the greatest NFL football coach of all time. If not, he's in the top 3.
Yep.
And he's been a coach just with the Patriots since 2000, not counting his stint with the Browns in the 90s. And Bill Belichick has been the NFL head coach of the year, and this is voted on by the Associated Press 3 times.
Yeah.
And during his career, here are some other guys who've won it. So again, this is the Bill Belichick era of NFL football.
Yes.
Dick Duran won it in 2001.
In Buffalo at the time?
Dude, actually every Bears coach pretty much wins it.
Or was it a
Bears.
Bears? Oh, Bears. Okay.
Yeah, the
Bears, yeah.
Dick
Because a
Duran.
few years later, Lovie Smith won it in 2005.
Nagy won it his first year. That's right.
Nagy won it in 2018. 2008, 2009, Mike Smith of the Falcons, and then Marvin Lewis won Coach of the Year for getting the Bengals to 10-6. And that's right there. Like Marvin Lewis comes along. Yeah. I don't know what the Bengals were the year before, but they were the Bengals leading up to 2009. And Marvin Lewis, who went 0 for 8 in the playoffs, doesn't factor into this Coach of the Year vote. The perception was this is entirely a perception award, just like most improved player.
Yes.
Boy, the Bengals have been garbage for 20 years. Marvin Lewis came along, and now they're a 10-win team. Well, he's not a better coach than Bill Belichick. Andy Reid has won this award once. Jason Garrett, 2016 with the Cowboys when they went 13-3, got fired like 2 years later. Ron Rivera has won it twice to Andy Reid's once. Mm-hmm. So this is a weird award, I think. And by the way, the minimum wins is 10 has happened a couple times, but it's usually 11, 12, 13, 14, or 15 wins will get you in the mix for NFL Coach of the Year.
And
it
first
rarely
year's a
happens
perfect
the other
time.
way.
Because your team might pop, and then it's like, oh, you're the genius.
Yep. The only coach, can you guys name the only coach, as I scroll back here, the only coach in NFL history since this award became a thing in 1957 to win Coach of the Year with a sub 500 record that year?
Has it been in the last 20, 30 years?
Yes. The last 30. So that gives you a little.
So it goes back to
I'll take that back. It was in the early 90s.
Okay.
Early 90s.
What the hell? Why would you give it to a coach whose team finishes below 500?
So the year before, I think they won 1 game. And then, in part because of a trade that they made, they went 7-9 the following
The Cowboys?
year. Yeah, the Cowboys.
Jimmy Johnson?
Yep, Jimmy. So how about this? So this is how ridiculous this award is. Jimmy Johnson won it in 1990 for going 7-9,
Yep.
and then embarked on a dynasty for the next 5 years.
Didn't win it?
Did not win it. Wayne Fonts won it in 1991. Bill Cowher 92, Dan Reeves with the Giants in 93, and then Bill Parcells won it for the second and last time in 1994. 1995, Ray Rhodes won it with the Philadelphia Eagles. Then Dom Capers won it in 96.
If Jimmy Johnson had been with any team that was not named the Dallas Cowboys, he does not win that award. No way. Like if he was the coach of the, I don't know, Raiders or Chargers, and they go from 1 win to 7, he's got no shot at that.
But
award.
America's team is back
Dallas.
and on the rise.
God, were they despicable.
So on one hand, okay, this is just kind of a, your expectations were pretty low and you surpassed them type of award. But on the other hand here, you do get to 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 wins. Most winners get to that point. So to me, that's the target. If Kevin O'Connell is going to win NFL Coach of the Year, the Vikings have to go from 8-9 to like 11-6 or 12-5.
Well, and looking at the list, guys that have either the same odds as Connell or better odds, like Staley and Hackett, like that division's going to be really, really tough. But I also, on paper, at least expect both those teams to be pretty dang good.
Yep.
But when you loop in O'Connell, Peterson, McDaniel, even Kyle Shanahan, who's a pretty damn good coach too, I actually like O'Connell's odds more to overachieve than those other teams. The Dolphins, like, hey, I love me some Teddy Bridgewater, and I do think Tua's a little misunderstood. I just don't think they have enough horses to overachieve there. Jacksonville, yeah, they can definitely, because they've just been awful and they have a generational quarterback. So I would put O'Connell and Peterson as probably the two with the plus 1,600 odds or better to overachieve and actually contend for that award.
Yeah. Yeah, Doug Peterson just has to, he probably has to make the playoffs. I guess he could be in line to be if they win 8 games and they're feisty and
he ain't going to win now, though, right?
He's not going to
2022. Like I don't think
if they win 9 games. Oh, you're saying under 500.
I'm saying if they don't get to the I think it's got to be a playoff team now, probably, just to qualify for the playoffs.
What is, Judd? You spent time earlier this offseason out at OTAs and mini camps and whatnot, and I don't think you got a chance to grind film for 5 hours with Kevin O'Connell or anything like that. But you were around the team a little bit and talking to people. What are your observations about him? What have you learned about him as a coach, as a leader, just the first few months since he was hired back in January that you didn't know then?
A few things, actually. I think he definitely exudes confidence and yet sort of laid back confidence. So like he doesn't come off as being super intense. That being said, I think he's more intense than we see or think. So like he definitely is wired like a coach. At first, when you see him and him talking to players, it's like, yeah, he might be a coach, but from what I've heard and from what I've seen just intently at times, focusing on him to answer a question exactly like this, he is, to me, definitely wired like a coach. And I think that he's going to be a breath of fresh air compared to Mike, because keep in mind, too, Mike in 2021 was miserable with life. Like, there's no way around that. That whole situation was miserable. Mike did not come in like that, but he left like that.
Yeah.
O'Connell,
kind of weird, actually.
You know what, man? I think that job at some point in time, man. I know, but he's 60 some odd years old, and at that point he's 7 years in, and I think it just starts to take such a huge toll on your life and your family and the whole thing. But I think that Kevin is going to definitely bring in an air that is not going to be undisciplined, but is going to create a lot more ability for players and staff probably to have a say in things. And this is where I think the thing with Kirk, because if we go through that entire list of candidates, you tell me one coach of the year favorite in your mind who is not partnered and tied directly to a quarterback. Hackett, Russ, right? Yeah. I mean, I would say
Dable was brought in to try and get something out of Daniel Jones, but they'll in 1 year they'll have a new quarterback.
It's going to fail.
Yeah. Staley, Herbert.
Exactly.
Well, actually, Kyle Shanahan's a really interesting one because on the surface you would look and see, well, wait a second, because these odds are sort of playing up against the perception, right? And I think of the voters and the fans and stuff. And the perception would be, well, the Niners overachieved last year by going deep in the playoffs. I get the playoffs don't count, but perception-wise, the Niners kind of squeezed a lot of toothpaste out of the tube last year. So what are they going to have to do to surpass that this year? They're going to have to win 14 games or something? Well, no. They're going to start, not a rookie, but a second-year guy who's played 1 year of Division I AA college football. So if the Niners can get back to double-digit wins with Trey Lance as the starter, then it'll be looked at as a Mona Lisa painting by Kyle Shanahan, right?
Absolutely. And I have my doubts there. I don't know what to expect there.
I feel like they have their doubts.
I know, and I'm not confident that I think their doubts might be right. Garoppolo has a lot of faults, right? But he does. But I mean, he's got the Cousins-esque. There's some stability there. You don't start a year with Kirk saying this team's going to win 3 or 4 games. It might not be perfect, but there's a stability that I think coaches probably like. And I think Garoppolo has that exact same stability to him by now. With Lance, I don't know. I'm concerned that it might blow up and be a disaster. And if it's a disaster, I'm very curious who takes the fall there. Because, I mean, you traded up to the 3rd pick in that draft to get him. So, like, someone's going, if this doesn't work, it's going to land on somebody's desk.
O'Connell vibe kind of remind me of I had a track coach in junior high and high school who was like during class and he taught science obviously at the school, but also like was our track coach in the springtime. And during class, he was always like such a laid back, like very easy teacher to have, like would even like joke and talk with you. But when it was track practice and it was time, like completely different dude. Like not the same laid back, like I can come up to you and talk about the Twins or whatever. When it was track time and it was practice time, it was like, no, this is go time. We're not messing around. Like we want to get something out here. And I feel like, to Judd's point, that's probably what it is. Like there's a lead on of like, hey, it's cool, calm and collected, but like I'm qualified, of course. But when it's whistle time and when you get the pads on in football, it's going to be a completely different beast. And I think it benefits the Vikings from that standpoint.
Yeah. I like it.
You know who the odds-on favorite is to help you guys lose weight? Livia, our friends at Livia, Judd.
And I want to tell you right now about an opportunity for teamwork in your household, right? So like we watch teams play, we like to watch sports, we like teams, but what about teamwork at home? My example is this. What about if you are trying to lose some weight and you're looking for that support? You know what? Your wife, girlfriend. In fact, Dawn joined, down 5+ pounds now. She's starting the journey. I am down 40 pounds. But guess what? Because it's teamwork, we're cooking together. She's making healthier foods. This is teamwork where you can support each other and shed those unwanted pounds. And then the most important thing, you can keep those pounds off. The Simple Start plan, only $59. That's right, $59. 855-GO LIVEA. Livia, LIVEA.com. Make it a family thing. Lose the weight, and then most importantly, keep the weight off. Livia.com.
And Dex, we have a really fun event coming back to the Twin Cities. I think it's the 4th year of the 3M Open. Yeah,
I saw another commit over the weekend for the 3M Open. Hideki Matsuyama is going to be committing to the 3M Open, so that's going to be fun. Cameron Champ won it last year, so he's coming back to defend his championship. Tony Finau is going to be there, and in fact, I would probably imagine that more golfers here, as we get closer here, are going to start making their commitments to the 3M Open. You can get your tickets at 3mopen.com/tickets, 3mopen.com/tickets. Also, kids 15 and under get in free with a paid adult admission. So go check them out. It's going to be a blast July 18th through the 24th at TPC Twin Cities, 3mopen.com/tickets.
Also, Federated Insurance has partnered over the years with Big Brothers Big Sisters to raise $44 million actually since 2005 for Big Brothers Big Sisters. And the main thing here is providing children facing adversity with strong and enduring, professionally supported mentorship relationships that can help them become the best version of themselves. So if you want to find out more about how you can get involved, federatedchallenge.org. That's federatedchallenge.org. All right, it's time for, officially now, what are people saying about the Minnesota Vikings? And our friend Sam Munson, an OG columnist for the old 1500ESPN.com back in 2010 and 11.
I forgot about his previews. That's right. His scouting reports were legendary.
Yep, he did a great job with those. And he has written an ode to Justin Jefferson on PFF.com. I'm just going to read you a couple things here, and we can get to the meaty question here. The bar keeps being set higher for wide receivers in the NFL, and even with the adjusting scale, Minnesota Vikings receiver Justin Jefferson has enjoyed a remarkable start to his NFL career. Famously the 5th receiver taken in the 2020 draft, Jefferson dominated the second he was given the opportunity to start for the Vikings and somehow replaced Stephon Diggs without missing a beat. Does Justin Jefferson already have a case as the best wide receiver in the National Football League? And they go on to list some wide receiver statistics that they got the top 5 in receiver grade, yards per reception, yards per route run, all include Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill. Do you think Justin Jefferson stands alone at the top of that list?
I don't personally think he does right now. I think he could if all goes according to plan. I think that there is a level, and this sounds ridiculous because, I mean, the guy in his first 2 years has set records, but I feel like there is another level that the Vikings want to take him to, which could put him atop that list. Right now, I think it's premature. Now, of those receivers, do I think he's the most talented right now? Perhaps. But like as far as the best, I think that is a little bit getting ahead of the game. I do believe, though, that if this O'Connell offense and basically putting JJ in the Cooper Kupp role, if that works, come February, I think we could be talking about him right now being the best wide receiver in the league. Yes.
You know, he's definitely up there. I think he's for sure in the top 3, however you want to rank it. You know, and we don't always do this, but fantasy football wise, like PPR, like according to ESPN, he's number 2. So he's projected to be the second best wide receiver in fantasy football next year. Cooper Kupp.
Is Kupp number 1? Okay.
Kupp number 1, Jamar Chase 3, Devontae Adams now in Vegas number 4, Diggs 5. But then, you know, you start talking about, we just talked about overachieving with coaches. Like, everyone thinks Jerry Jeudy is now finally going to break out with Denver, right? Because he doesn't have Drew Lock throwing him the ball anymore, and now Russell Wilson's going to step in there.
Your guy.
And Jeudy was a first-round pick, like 15th overall a couple years ago, and people think, all right, this is finally it. Jerry Jeudy, who's this athletic freak, finally has a legitimate quarterback. He's going to take the next step. You know, if Jefferson doubles his season, like, does that just, if he just repeats what he did in 2001 to 2022, does that automatically make him the number 1 receiver? And like, well, then why don't we just crown him it now? You know, like what do we have to continue to wait? Do we have to like continue to get down to years 4 and 5 before we label him as the best wide receiver? I think he has all the tools and all the resources that suggest he already is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL.
Yeah, I think to me, I don't think you can put him number 1 yet, but I don't think it's his fault. Kind of what Jeb was saying. You know, Cooper Kupp has better numbers and productivity across the board, not because he's a better wide receiver than Justin Jefferson. It's a product of scheme and opportunity. And I do think we go too far sometimes, just, you know, Mike Zimmer and the Kubiak offense, it's a Stone Age offense and this and that. Well, in the second half of the season, Justin Jefferson definitely had the targets ramped up and was one of the biggest big play receivers in the league. You know, he averaged 15 yards per reception, which was more than Kupp, Adams, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill. So the productivity was there. But that's the crazy thing is you get another offensive mind in here from the scheme that helped put Cooper Kupp on that level. Yes. Cooper Kupp was targeted an average of almost 2 more times per game than Justin Jefferson. And so I think if you give him the same opportunity and canvas that Cooper Kupp was given, you're going to see numbers go up even more without him getting better, which he probably will because he's going into year 3. He's not a finished product yet. Devontae Adams is more of a finished product. Cooper Kupp, more in terms of like skill set, age, all those things. Cooper Kupp is 28. Devontae Adams is 29. Tyreek Hill is 27. Diggs is 28. Jefferson's 22.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So at what point are we still 3 years away from his physical peak, his physical prime? That's the other scary question here.
Boy, that's a good question. I don't know about that because he is, and you don't get the point because unfortunately it came from the call.
Seemed like a genuine compliment, though.
Insincere, Jed.
No, it's not insincere at all.
That one was not. That one was not.
That's BS. No, I was pondering a question I didn't expect, and I liked the question.
Don't say ponder
because this. I was contemplating the question I didn't expect, and because of that, I'm going to say that I really believe that Justin Jefferson, okay, in 3 years, yes, he'll probably be at his physical peak, but he's so damn skilled and talented that, the incredible thing is we are talking about him as this sort of untapped, in some ways, player, and you go back and look at those statistics for the first 2 years, and they're ridiculous.
Yes.
Like Zim could say, what are you guys talking about? I used him well. Now, we would say, nah, you started B.C. Johnson when J.J. was a rookie. There were definitely games in the first portion of last year, i.e. the Detroit game at U.S. Bank Stadium, where you abandoned him. So I would argue that there was more there. But the reason why this is a Viking season that I think I am as excited for this season as I have been for one in forever. is to see what they can do with what they feel was untapped potential.
Yes.
And it probably starts with him and Kirk.
I'm trying to find some examples too, because I do think you can compare Justin Jefferson to some of the all-time greats in terms of like early career productivity and, you know, what does that career arc look like? So a lot of these guys didn't hit their peak numbers, and, you know, a combination of route running, athleticism, knowledge of the game, right scheme, everything, until they were in their mid-20s. So Devontae Adams was 26 years old when opportunity came to the same crossroads and he was like year 5 in the league.
Yep.
Opportunity intersects with skills, intersects with knowledge and route running and all the right circumstances. He was 26. Randy Moss. I know he burst on the scene and right away he led the league in touchdown receptions, but my God, Randy Moss's peak season didn't come until 2003, which was when he goes up over, career high in receptions, 111 receptions and 1,600 yards and career high in touchdowns. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. He was putting up absurd numbers for the 5 seasons before that, but like the peak came when he was 26 in 2003. Jerry Rice burst on the scene in year 2, but his peak didn't hit until he was late 20s, 30s. So that's the thing. It's like, how rare would it be for Justin Jefferson to come out of the gate and like, oh, well, this is the best it's going to be, and now it's going to be a decline. It's more likely to get better at some point. I'm not saying it's going to get better every year linearly, but it's more likely that he has not hit the peak numbers and route running and everything for another year, 2 years, or maybe 5 years from now.
Yeah, and I'm going to assume that he is going to have another great year and probably, could be the best year of his career this season. And I will say this, I am very interested to see what that contract he gets looks like, because he's, I believe, eligible after this year to sign an extension. So like he's under team control for 5 years, but they definitely are going to want to make him happy. And when you look at the contracts that receivers in this league are getting now, Justin Jefferson is, and deserves to, going to break the bank. There's no way around that.
And I know that a lot of people are saying the wide receiver market it's hit a bubble, it's jumped the shark or whatever, and he's going to get traded. If you are planning correctly, right now you're using his rookie scale contract to sort of leverage up against Kirk having the 3rd highest cap hit in the league.
Yes.
So under no circumstances am I going to pay Kirk Cousins at age 35 or 36 top 5 cap money and Justin Jefferson new contract kicking in. So you either have to trade Justin Jefferson to get young wide receivers in here again to play with a 35-year-old Kirk Cousins, or you stop paying Kirk Cousins and draft your quarterback of the future. And maybe he's not as good as Cousins, but he can sit in a vehicle that includes Justin Jefferson still and some other players that maybe aren't even drafted yet. But that contract kicks in starting in 2024, if I'm not mistaken. And you've got Kirk ironclad until 2024. Yep. But he's not signed for 2024. So all the more reason to think if you're going to keep Justin Jefferson 2024 or beyond on like a 5-year, some sort of absurd contract, which I would right now. If gun to the head, I would do that right now. Then you are officially saying goodbye to Kirk Cousins after 2023. Right?
Oh, the intrigue. Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. On purpose, but I don't see how you trade him. Like he's not a player where you're like, well, he's good, but the position is becoming more important. There's a reason why teams now are consistently paying these guys huge bucks. Like, it's not a mistake. The position is now so important, and you've got one who is, I think right now, no question, to go back to the top of the show, top 5. So, yeah, I think that this is being done very much on purpose to walk Kirk to the end of the contract plank, push him off, and then have someone in place to replace him. Seriously, it's the contract plank. He's on the plank right now.
Just take 10 steps and turn around.
Hey, where are we going? Why am I blindfolded? I matey.
There's people that walk the plank blindfolded. Don't they fall off? How do you walk straight on a plank blindfolded?
I thought they got guided and then
do
bang. I
I
thought
think
they
they're
were
getting like
guided.
a little poked, with the sword.
Yeah.
Like the sword's kind of guiding them
I think
in
they
a
sort
way.
of know where it is. Unfortunately, the plank ends, and then you're at the end of the contract.
Do
how
pirates
about-
still do that to people out on remote islands?
Maybe. Go out on your porch, put a big plank out, be blindfolded, let us know. And then if you don't come back, we know you fell.
I bet you could balance the plank, Phil.
Yeah, with a surly.
little surly
I
can
see
plank.
what you did there. I see what you did
I've actually
there.
done that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you right now, since Phil broached it, the summer of Surly, it was in, let's just say this, full swing the past 3 or 4 days. The Zolgat House, I got a feeling the goth cabin experience.
It did.
And also, thank you, because I saw your tweets. You showed us your cans of the Supremes. You showed us your cans of the delicious Logic Bombs. All of those are so good. Oh, man. If you did not partake in the summer of Surly over the 4th, what were you doing? But there is still time because we still have plenty of summer left. Enjoy it while it lasts because the summer of Surly, there ain't nothing like it. And again, show us your cans. I'm at Jay Zolgat on Twitter. I always love to see you enjoying all of the delicious options from Surly Brewing.
Hey, I have a question for you guys here, but let's shout out Brainerd International Raceway here real quick, Declan. Just a fun experience on the weekends this summer if you're looking for fun things to do.
Absolutely. Everyone's all up in F1 right now, but Brainerd International Raceway, you want your kick? Go up to BIR. BIRMN.com/tickets for more information on Brainerd International Raceway. It's going to be an absolute blast. Great place to get the kiddos up there. Brainerd International Raceway, BIRMN.com to learn more.
Hey, real quick here. So some listeners, I love this idea, and we're definitely going to do it here in the next couple weeks, but we got to put together a list of historical pie charts we can do. So pie charts of blame are really easy in Vikings history. 98 NFC Championship game, 2009 NFC Championship game,
Yes.
right? What are some other pie charts that we should, what are like 2 more? And I'd like a positive one in there too. So we're
Pie
not
chart
just
of
doing-
praise, I would say the Saints playoff win here.
Oh, the miracle.
The miracle. That's a perfect pie chart of praise.
Okay.
Got to praise the Saints guy that whiffed on Diggs. He deserves some real praise for that for the Vikings. But yeah,
That's a good one.
I think the miracle definitely is a good contender
Okay.
for that list.
Let's start with those 3. We'll start
Okay,
with those
hold
3.
on.
We'll
Okay,
mix them in
okay,
here.
all right.
I think you can find
98.
these games on YouTube if you want to go watch them back or watch like the fast versions of them or something. They're all etched. They're definitely etched in my head, too.
indelibly right there.
Yeah.
And a little right there.
So the 98 NFC title game, pie chart of blame. 2009 NFC title game, pie chart of blame. And then the Minneapolis Miracle pie chart of praise. Mm-hmm. Okay. And there's plenty of others I'm sure we could. It'd be kind of fun to go back and do an old game, like one of the 4 Super Bowls they lost. Go back and watch a full one and then just go blame
you sick son of a...
go blame Carl Eller for not
Just
getting enough pressure.
Let's do all 4 Super Bowls.
We
Bud Grant,
should do one of the Super Bowls.
Tarkington.
I'm going to put it on the list. One of the 70s Super Bowls.
All right.
I'm sure we can watch those full games somewhere on the internet. Anyhow, I know you're getting blown up by our friend Patrick Ricey saying,
I'm ready. I'm ready. I got to...
Yep, we're about to start, Pat.
I got to... He's
He's
got...
in the studio.
I told you guys, he's got plans tonight. He needs to go.
Yep, he's about. We're just
All right.
wrapping up.
All
All
right.
right, that's Daily Vikings Entertainment here.
All right.
Purple Daily.